made the team. Well, welcome everybody to the Modesto City Schools regular board meeting of April 15th, 2024. This meeting is now called to order. Prior to us coming back to order, I'd like to refer anybody who needs translator services to Ms. Paula Valbuena at the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Maestas. Buenas tardes. Habla Paula Valbuena. Si necesita servicios de interpretación al español, por favor llame al 1805-324-7680 e ingrese el código de acceso 398-932-295 más la tecla numeral. Este es un número totalmente gratis. Nuevamente, llame al número de teléfono 1805-324-7680 e ingrese el código de acceso 398-932-295 más la tecla numeral. También puede acceder a estas instrucciones en nuestro sitio web en www.mcs4kids.com, dirigiéndose a la parte inferior en la página haciendo clic en Quit Links y haciendo clic nuevamente en Board Agendas para ir a la agenda de esta noche, o si no, estaré en la parte de atrás para colaborarles. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Valbuena. We'll start with roll call. Student Board Rep Jifa Ukwaye.
Here.
Trustee Brown.
I'm present.
Trustee Daly.
Present.
Trustee Lopez.
Present.
Trustee Marks.
Present.
Trustee Mejia.
Present.
And Vice President Maestas, I'm here. President Irvin is absent tonight. Let the record reflect, we do have a quorum. Will you please stand and join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. This open session of the board meeting of trustees is being live streamed at the direction of the board. The live stream is available on the district's website, and the recordings will be available for viewing the day after the board meeting. MCS has provided an opportunity for the public to provide comments. It is outlined on the agenda. The public has been given an opportunity to call in and leave a voicemail, send us a comment via email, or appear in person before the board. Any public comments received via email or voicemail following the posting of the board agenda and prior to noon the day of the board meeting will not be read aloud, but have been transcribed and printed with copies provided to each board member. The voice and email public comments will be attached to the future board meetings minutes for approval. This practice will continue until further notice. For members of the public that are interested in commenting in the future, we welcome your comments. If you wish to address the board during the period for public comment on the subject not on the agenda, you must complete a public presentation request card and submit it to the board vice president today prior to the period for public comment. If you need assistance from our translator, please indicate so on the request card. Every person who wishes to address the board tonight, please fill out a card. You will find the cards in the lobby, and you can hand your comment cards to Ms. Chambers in the back, right there, wave. There she is, thank you. I also want to remind you, if you wish to make a complaint against a specific district employee, you should follow the district's personnel complaint procedure. Copies of that procedure are available in the lobby, as are agenda copies which outline the procedures we will observe during the period for public comment. The right to address the board does not exempt the speaker from any potential liability for defamation. If you plan to speak on a topic, please fill out the card now, as no cards will be accepted after the period for public comment has begun. The maximum time for any one speaker is 3 minutes for a total of 30 minutes. For those of you requesting translation services, an additional minute will be added to your time. We are pleased tonight to welcome two students from El Vista Elementary School to lead us in the flag salute. So we'll welcome first K.I. Steen. Is that all right? K.I. Steen? Fifth grader K.I. is a kind-hearted and noble student. He lives his life with great integrity and is a role model for other students. K.I. has earned perfect attendance awards and has received the Bulldog of the Month award each year he has attended El Vista. In addition to serving on safety patrol, K.I. helps students with special needs through the Amigos Club. While away from school, he enjoys spending time with his friends, playing video games, and playing football for the Turlock Dolphins. After high school, K.I. wants to go to college and study to be a lawyer. Welcome, K.I. We also have Rainsy Tess Tannehill. Fifth grader Rainsy told his principal that at the beginning of the school year, he was going to do a great job. He fulfilled that promise and has won awards for perfect attendance, Bulldog of the Month, and the Most Improved Award at El Vista. Rainsy was also involved in the recycling club, enjoys spending time with friends, playing video games, and sports such as baseball and karate. After high school, Rainsy wants to go to school and become a police officer. Students, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We can all stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
All right, that was fun. All right, I'll turn it over to Superintendent Gucci for your message tonight.
Perfect, thank you, and welcome.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Good evening, and thanks everyone for attending this evening. It's always great to see a full room full of folks, and I know there's some folks watching from the comfort of their home. We have a very busy board meeting today, so I'm going to keep it short, and sweet. First off, I know that there are a number of folks, parents, community members that are interested in our 8th grade health curriculum. I just want to let you know that during the adoption section today, that is not being considered at this time. That curriculum isn't going to be considered until May 13th. At our next board meeting, there will be a report. If you are interested in reviewing that material, we have extended the review time an additional almost 3 weeks to May 19th. And you're welcome to go over and take a look at that curriculum. It's over on Reno Avenue at Curriculum and Instruction Professional Development Department. It's 1017 Reno Avenue. There is a place for you to provide feedback and input, both electronically, but also writing it out if you're comfortable with that. All of that information will get to the board at our May 13th meeting when we first hear a report before it actually gets voted on in June. So if you're interested in that, we will be doing that in subsequent board meetings. So next, I want to share a little bit of information relative to some changes in district office leadership. Some of our leaders moving into new positions. Both of these positions we currently have as leaders in our current in our district. As you know, really fundamentally, the work of school leadership is to provide support for schools. So really, these two positions are going to be direct support to schools, not only for principals, but also for the community and for parents and for students as we work to provide support. First one, please join me in welcoming Ernesto Calderon. You're out there, we can stand, yes. Ernesto is currently a senior director in CIPD, or Curriculum and Instruction Professional Development. He serves in the role of senior director there. We're working to provide additional supports to schools, so we're going to be moving him out of CIPD and into school leadership. We know that that's going to be a good match for a couple reasons. One, he was a phenomenal principal, elementary principal at Orville Wright, and so those skills will be translated to other opportunities for mentoring principals moving forward. But also, and I think more importantly, is he has a deep understanding of early literacy, and we know that that is an area that we continue to struggle with. And so his expertise working with principals and staff in developing their plans for early literacy is going to be a great benefit. So welcome and congratulations. Next, please join me in welcoming Nathan Shar to the School Leadership Senior Director. Nathan, over the last 11 years, has done a tremendous job as principal at Johansen, and he leaves Johansen in a much better place. Truly some wonderful leadership there. Before that time, he spent almost 10 years at Roosevelt Junior High School, 6 of those as a principal. So Nathan has been a principal in our system for nearly 2 decades, and that experience is going to serve him well in the school leadership capacity. Nathan is a really strong, he's taking a deep breath, I see him back there. He is a strong advocate for students, and this is evidenced by working with the Johansen staff and their commitment to students to build intervention and enrichment embedded in the day, and that is not an easy feat. So he has that ability to be able to look at a need, look at a program, and work with folks to be able to make that happen in a large system. So congratulations and welcome. Last but not least, while this is bittersweet, I do want to acknowledge Dr. Contreras. She's standing up back there somewhere. There you are. Heather, we want to congratulate Heather. She has worked for Modesto City Schools for many, many years. I have I don't have the number here, but I know that it's been many years. I have looked to her for guidance and leadership through different programming and through different situations that have come on at the sites, and she has been a very strong leader for our principals as well. She has recently been named to Pajaro Valley as their next superintendent, so we know that Pajaro Valley is in good hands, and we are confident that Heather's going to take her skill set at creating the right conditions for students and for administrators, but only it won't be in Modesto City, it will be over on the coast. So congratulations, and this is her last board meeting, at least in Modesto. So I know I said I was keeping it short, and I guess that wasn't too short, but at that time, I'm turn it over to Vice President Maestas.
Thank you so much for that report. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Sharakina Shams for our recognitions.
Good evening, Board Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Noguchi, and our Modesto City Schools families, staff, and community who are here tonight. I hope you all managed to stay safe and dry over the weekend. This is our very favorite part of the board meeting where we recognize our exemplary students who demonstrate values embraced by Modesto City Schools. And tonight we're celebrating an outstanding scholar, Gregory High School 12th grader Callie Axtell, for the Character Trait Initiative. Here to tell us about Callie's nomination is her Gregory High School science teacher, Ms. Catherine Miranda. Ms. Miranda is also going to be joined by Gregory principal, Mr. Philip Jaramillo. Let's have all 3 of you come up to the front, say a few words about Callie, and then we'll take your picture after.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Come on up, Callie.
Okay, you go. Come on. So you're right here. All right, I'll keep to the script in keeping it short. But I could go on for a long time about Callie. She's an amazing student. She has incredible drive and a brilliantly creative mind. Callie is passionate about positive change in our world. She designs shirts for various clubs on campus, organizes Gregory's recycling program, and is the co-president of the Sustainability Global Club here in the district, and constantly shows initiative to be actively involved in her school community. Callie's commitment to the betterment of Gregori High School, her fellow students, and the planet will undoubtedly benefit the future of society as a whole. You are amazing.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Congratulations. That was truly inspiring. Callie, thank you. And thank you, Ms. Miranda, for sharing her story with us. Next up, everybody, we have a really special presentation tonight, a special recognition of our employees making a difference, a very deserving group of employees. And for that, I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Leah Kloshis, who will announce our honorees. Leah, take it away.
Good evening, Board Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Noguchi, and MCS families and staff. Thank you for joining us tonight as we honor our MCS employees making a difference. Each year, the Stanislaus County Office of Education and the Local Association of California Administrators, Region 7, excuse me, partner to honor outstanding non-supervisory classified employees throughout school districts within Stanislaus County. Every district selects its own honorees. This year, we nominated 16 classified employees for this year's 17th annual recognition ceremony. And we are here tonight to celebrate not only their achievement, but to recognize their dedication, leadership, and exemplary service to our schools and community. Excuse me. Thank you. If you are here to receive your certificate, please make your way to the right side of the room as I prepare to call your name. Once everyone has received their certificates, we will take a group picture outside of this door over here. Would you like me to scoot down a little? Let's scoot down a little. All right. Here we go with number one. First up is going to be Pablo Alvarez, custodian at El Vista Elementary School. Next up is going to be Sabrina Padilla, paraprofessional at Franklin Elementary School. Next is Ernestine Thompson, administrative assistant, Fremont Elementary School. Next is Dinah Henschel, student records clerk, Martone Elementary School. Next, we have Cami Lamar, student records clerk, John Muir Elementary School. Diane Hepner, student records clerk, Robertson Road Elementary School. Sorry, they're out of order here. Okay. Next up, we have Paula McDaniels, administrative assistant, La Loma Junior High School. Next is Paula Corona, school secretary, Bayer High School. We have Ahmed Al-Bayati, Arabic, bilingual, cross-cultural, instructional, paraprofessional, Davis High School. We have Angie Gutierrez, typist clerk 2, Enox High School. We have next Hope Duffy, Technician 2, Instructional Materials, Gregory High School. Sorry. Cheryl or Kim, we're not sure.
Come on down. Come on
You're the next
down.
contestant. Okay, the suspense. It was Cheryl Richards, Functional Skills Paraprofessional, Shackleford Elementary School. This concludes tonight's special recognition for our employees making a difference. Congratulations to everyone, and thank you to everyone for being here tonight.
Did fine. That concludes our recognitions, President Maestas.
Thank you. Ooh, I got a little president out of that. Ooh. Yeah, it's coming. If you're still here and you'd like to move up to the front, those are no longer reserved, so you can come and move closer. We don't bite, I swear. But you can, yeah, right. You can stay in the back, like church, right? Yeah. All right, we'll move on to our board member reports. Do we have any board members that would like to share a report tonight? All right, we'll start with Trustee Marks.
Thank you so much. What a great, I always love the celebration of the awards and seeing all the wonderful staff that we have. So I'm glad they were able to be here for the beginning. And so the meetings that I've attended the last couple of weeks, I attended the Eddies, which the majority of our board was there. And it's always an awesome night because it's a little play on words, just like the Emmys, but it's the Eddies for Character Ed. So I always love it. And the students are just awesome. There were so many wonderful students that night. So I know it's a special event for all of us to attend. And then I attended the equity meeting with the district, and it was a wonderful reiteration of our report that Mr. Henderson did at our last board meeting. Very helpful for, I think, the staff and the community to actually hear it again. It was good for me. And then he had put the numbers in of the staff that we had and what each ethnicity had. And so that was helpful too, just to see the change. But I think that night, the main thing that stood out to me were the concerns about chronic absenteeism and why it's happening. And one of the community members reiterated that, it's really about our children and a need for our understanding on how best can we respond to why the students are missing school. And it just breaks our heart to see so many students missing school, and we need to know why and what can we do to respond to that and have empathy in what's happening. So it was a good dialogue. I think it needs to be done deeper, and actually I'm sure as we talk more about that, I think that'll be something that'll go forward in our district as helpful. And then I also attended the Parents Leading Change meeting just a few nights ago, and we planned out 2 new events for the group and for the parents to come, and we really wanted to have an interaction between the parents more and have some kind of fun stuff. So we're going to do a family culinary night, which will be really cool. And then they talked about doing a family bingo night too. And so I think it'll be just really good to and the last report we had was Mr. Little came and talked about all the programs that he oversees, and it was a really special one. So that was last month, but wow. There was a lot of information, and I was appreciative just to see his response to some of the parents that were there, how to meet their needs, and how to help our students. So just appreciate all of that. So it's been even though it's only been 2 weeks, I think it's been 2 weeks, but there's a lot going on. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that report. Trustee Lopez.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here, and for those that are watching us online, glad you're able to watch us. Real quick, I was part of the Eddies, along with most of our board members here. It was great to see the students and just the resiliency of their, not only their academics, but about their nature and their just ability to care for others. And that was the important part of that night, right? The main part of a student that makes up their whole being, right? The character that's within them. So it was a pleasure to be out there. My report's short, but I just wanted to let if there's any students out there watching this or any parents of students that are about to go to college, the deadline or the priority of deadline for the FAFSA has been extended to May 2nd. So if you haven't filled out the FAFSA for any reason, there's been a new rollout of a new process. So things have been a little wonky. Process have been a little delayed. There's always this. There's been modifications for a couple weeks now. So you still have time to apply. You still have time to be priority for Cal Grants or middle class scholarship award. So please fill it out and make sure that your education is paid for when you hopefully reach university in the fall.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Trustee Daly.
Okay, I have a couple of things tonight. One, I had the honor and privilege to present at College and Career Day at Orville Wright. This was the first time I've ever presented for a College and Career Day, so it was really good. And then I had the opportunity to sneak a peek at, I think there were 8 different presenters or different groups of presenters, because there were some EMTs, there was a couple of CSIs from Modesto City Police Department, and then the winners of the show, I'm sure, were the firemen with the fire truck. So we realized we were not going to be as much fun as them. However, I think the kids really enjoyed it, and then they talked about each of the people that presented at the end. We talked about how we might be able to do something different next year. So it was really nice to be able to go and interact with the kids that way. The other thing that I wanted to mention is on the March 26th meeting, the chairman, our chairman, Manning Graywall, and the Stanislaus County Board of Supervisors proclaimed Assyrian Heritage Month in Stanislaus County for April. And at that meeting, unfortunately I missed it, but I was able to watch online, was Carmen Murad. I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. And if I did that wrong, Carmen, you can email me and let me know. She's from the Assyrian Wellness Collaborative, and she shared some really interesting information. So April 1st was the Assyrian New Year, which is also considered Nisan. The year is 6774 for the Assyrian calendar. Assyrians began settling in Stanislaus County 130 years ago, primarily to farm, and most of them were displaced because of genocide in their country. Approximately 50,000 Assyrians currently reside in Stanislaus County. Stanislaus State University has a collection of modern Assyrian heritage dating back from 700 AD to present. And then also Enoch's High on April 5th had a heritage experience with dancing and food from the Assyrian American Club. So I just wanted to mention that. And I really appreciate understanding the culture better from the Assyrian community. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Trustee Brown.
Besides having fun at the Eddies, I just wanted to make mention of an event coming up at the end of next week, Love Modesto. I have been looking at the website, and I've noticed that there are lots of opportunities still to volunteer, and we have several of our school campuses as project sites, and I would like to encourage everyone, including those watching, all of our families, to get involved in this day of community service. And let's make sure that our schools are well taken care of on that day as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. And I have just a few things along with the Eddies. There was a science night recently at Lakewood where the Enoch's Forensics Academy came over and had a bunch of booths of science stuff for the kids. And so the kids came and did all these science experiments. And now I have all these bouncy balls in my house that the kids made. So that was a lot of fun. And I'm really looking forward to all of the, Trustee Brown just said there's an activity coming up. There are a ton of activities coming up. So if you have kids in our district, your teachers, staff, there's a talent show coming up. I think it's Night of Talent or something like that. It's coming up. We've got proms. There are we can feel the end of the school year coming up, and there's a ton of activities. So get out there. I know that there's a school nearby where you live that has something for you to go support the school, whether it's drama, music, sports, or any other things that students put on. It'd be great for them to see adults there to cheer them on. And there was one more thing, but I think I did everything. So that's my report. And I do want to say before we move on, just backtracking a little bit, in closed session, the board took no action. So I meant to say that when we came back, but I did not, so I want to make sure that that's there. All right, we will move on to our approval of our consent agenda. So are there any comments regarding consent agenda items from the public? Okay, seeing none, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Trustee Mejia, second by Trustee Marks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstain? All right. Motion passes. All right, do I hear a motion to approve the order of discussion action items? Motion by Trustee Mejia, second by Trustee Brown. Can I, all in favor, say aye? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstains? Okay, that motion passes. All right, this takes us to our period for public presentations. Thank you for attending tonight's meeting and showing interest in our schools. I have one card tonight, and I'll ask that the speaker, once called, will come to the podium and address the board. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and you'll have additional time if you need a translator services. So will Adria Murphy, can please come to the podium and address the board? Thank you.
Hello, I'm here to speak regarding the intended relocation of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program at Lakewood to Tuolumne Elementary. I'm speaking on behalf of my deaf daughter, who asked me to advocate for her, as well as for other DHH parents who have voiced similar concerns. The Deaf and Hard of Hearing program is a smaller program within special education, but it comes with unique culture and language. It serves not only the unique needs of learners, but facilitates a cultural identity amongst the deaf students and bridges a divide between hearing and deaf peers. As such, one of the most essential aspects of the DHH program is the relationship built between the DHH teacher and the general education teachers. For example, Mrs. Crumpler, the teacher for the deaf, has pioneered an amazing co-teaching model with one of her gen ed colleagues. The hearing students benefit from exposure to ASL, while deaf students are benefiting from total language immersion and access to curriculum, social opportunities with their gen ed peers. Any experienced special education teacher can tell you that this takes years to forge relationships that are collaborative, trusting, and mutually beneficial with the general education teachers. Currently, those are the kinds of relationships that the teacher of the deaf at Lakewood has formed through years of experience and collaboration with the general education teachers. Furthermore, many years of education advocacy and education, Lakewood has become a school where the DHH population is not only integrated but celebrated. Again, this is not something that happens overnight. These are carefully forged relationships. When my daughter told me about the intended relocation, her first question was, is Tuolumne a bully-free school like Lakewood? My daughter has attended 3 other schools, and she has experienced social isolation and bullying for her deafness at all of them. These were not bad schools or bad kids. They were simply schools without experience or knowledge of DHH, leading to attitudinal barriers for those students. Lakewood is truly a uniquely accepting school culture founded on long years of relational building and professional collaboration that have allowed deaf students to access both academic opportunities and social equality. I truly believe that my daughter's teacher, the current teacher at Lakewood, is a competent and excellent teacher, and that given enough time and years, she would be able to rebuild a program as excellent as the one at Lakewood. But it is delusional to think that this would happen overnight or even within the years that my daughter is currently still an elementary student. And therefore, I am advocating for the deaf and hard of hearing program to remain at Lakewood. I understand that the reason for the proposed location is that the autism program needs to expand. I used to be a teacher for the autism program at MCS, and I understand this need. I also understand that the location of Lakewood may be advantageous. However, my family is not the only family that has made housing decisions based on the 50-year precedent of the DHH program at Lakewood. Tuolumne is egregiously far away for us. While I understand that there are other program needs that need to be met, I'm on my last
That's okay,
sentence.
yep, go ahead.
While I understand that there are other important program needs that need to be met, I don't believe that this should come at the expense of extremely successful and well-established programs and at the expense of students who are currently participating in them. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, although we cannot engage in discussion or take formal action on items not on the agenda, we thank you for following the protocol and addressing the board, and for taking the time to share your views with us this evening. That'll move us on to our student representative report. So Student Rep. Kwai, do you have a report for us?
I do. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone has had a lovely past couple of weeks. Since March, I had the opportunity to go to an Equity Council meeting where we discussed staff onboarding and retainment, and also the racial disparities found in chronic absenteeism as well as chronic absenteeism itself. I was then able to carry that conversation over to the inter-high meeting that we had last Wednesday. And so I got a lot of feedback from students as to why students feel like chronic absenteeism is still very prevalent at the high school and elementary, middle school levels. So I hope to be able to relay that information and then hopefully get something moving to sort of combat these issues that we're seeing at our schools. Also, all the high schools are doing exceedingly well, wrapping up for the end of the school year. So Elliott High School is conducting their preliminations for the Tournament of Talent, which is going to be on May 8th at 6 o'clock at Downey High School. So they're, gathering up their finalists who will perform at Downey on that night. They also have a Teen Teachers Conference for the Model School Award that they recently received. And the students are participating in a lot of community service work. Currently, they're doing a packing project for supplies for veterans, which is very, very cool. Downey had their prom, I think, this past Saturday, and their class and ASB elections have been going on, so they've been getting people appointed in those positions for their school government. They have teacher appreciation coming up. Their talent show was also last week, and then they have Day on the Green coming up as well. Modesto High School has prom coming up in a couple weeks as well. They're also doing class and ASB elections, teacher appreciation. They're also finding their finalists for the Tournament of Talent, and they're also preparing for Day on the Green. And Johansson finished their Kindness Week and also had ASB elections, and they also have prom coming up. And they are preparing for WOW Week, which is Week of Welcome, to welcome incoming freshmen for the next school year, which I thought was very, very cool. Additionally, our service project is going well, so we continue to communicate with our 6th grade buddies, and our high schools have also taken up a district-wide book drive to provide books to elementary school students for summer reading, and hopefully this can help with some of the literacy rates and success in our reading scores that we just sort of build that up in the upcoming years. And then finally, I partnered with a friend in Alameda to acquire 100 spots for Modesto City School high school students to see Angela Davis speak live in the Bay Area on Friday for free. So I want to say a big thanks to Ms. Fallon Ferris, who helped to organize that and facilitate that process. And also, if you haven't signed up, to talk to your BSU advisors at your school, or check your school's Instagram and maybe sign up before it's too late. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thanks. See, I told you there were a lot of things going on, right? They just needed the right person to detail all those things and correct me because it was Tournament of Talent. Okay, so we'll move on to our MTA report. Do we have an MTA report? Excellent, thank you.
Good evening, Board Vice President Masters. I didn't expect
Thank
that
you.
one. That wasn't in my notes. And
Yeah.
trustees, Superintendent Noguchi, and Cabinet, Modesto Learning Community. My name is Chris Peterson, proud president of the Modesto Teachers Association. Please excuse my absence from last school board meeting on March 25th. I fear I was a bit under the weather and needed time to recover, or I would have made these comments a little earlier. In reference to that, I reference that absence because my comments this evening relate to the previous board meeting on Monday, March 4th. During the period of public presentations, as you did today, establishing clear directions and instructions in reference to the proper protocol. At that meeting, unfortunately, there were a few speakers that addressed the board and publicly made complaints about MCS employees. I very much appreciate the rules being shared about public comments at the beginning of each meeting, so we're all informed of the appropriate protocol to make sure we're doing the same thing. Charges against MCS employees, both administration and teachers, were repeated by multiple speakers. The violation at the time were not addressed and even repeated a second time. I do not believe that is the agreed upon board standard for formal comments or the intent. I recognize and support the rights of all parents, guardians, and our community members to lobby and present to the board, to pursue public policy objectives. That's why we're here this evening. We need that engagement, not less. That please do not misinterpret my intent. My goal is to make sure that personal attacks and criticisms, identifying of MCF's employees, is not included in a public forum like this. I'm convinced that this position not only matches board policy, and it's important that all of our employees feel protected and represented. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll have our CSCA report. We'll invite our CSCA representatives up.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the board. I am Fawn Peterson. I remembered president of the Modesto Chapter 007 California School Employees Association. I'd like to introduce one of the members of our e-board to you, our executive board, and have her share a little bit about herself. It's Gloria Ortiz de Alba. She's a TC2 translator at Enox, and she is our communications officer.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Gloria Olivia Ortiz de Alba. I'm the translator for Enox High School. And since somebody invited me to our meetings, CSEA, I really loved it. I feel like at home, and I feel like I could bring something to my coworkers. And it's a wonderful space to be, and for me to be the communication officers, I really enjoy. I used to be a journalist, so it's like retaking it that again. A pleasure to be here, and I'm all yours.
Thanks, Gloria. Gloria's been our communications officer for just about a year, right? Yeah, a year. And she's been putting together our monthly Informer newsletter. And we appreciate all that she's done to pull that together and wrangle all of us who have to provide content and get it out in a timely manner. I wanted to extend an invitation to the school board, Dr. Noguchi, cabinet members, and student representative, to our CSEA member appreciation dinner. It's happening on April 30th. I gave Ms. Chambers a copy of the invitation for each of you. I know it's old school, sorry. But if you fill it out and return it to Tasha Hutton, who works at Pearson in the CTE department, by the 19th, we'll plan on you being there and welcome you with open arms or glad expressions or whatever we can do. I did want to comment about the Classified Leadership Academy. You guys will probably get sick of me bringing this up, but it is an awesome opportunity for the few members of the classified employees and I believe classified management. They get the opportunity to take the class, and this was the first year that you guys offered it, or Modesto City Schools offered it. And I know that everyone in that class has benefited. And I just want to say, or the academy, I think everyone should have the opportunity to take the academy, and any opportunities to expand the scope of the academy would be awesome. You know, you learn not only about managerial skills, but you learn about yourself and what your strengths are and maybe what you need to work on a little bit more. But as we all learn too, there's 4 areas. You guys can all help me out. Lead ourselves, our peers, and there's 2 more. One of them's our managers. I can't remember what the 4th one is. But as we do that, we all become better employees because we learn how to lead our peers and to make the best of ourselves and bring that forward to Modesto City Schools. And that makes for happier students, happier families, as we can all become better supporters of their path to graduation and to ultimately a career, whatever that career looks like, whether it's going on to college and then upper degrees and becoming a teacher, or if it's going to the career tech route and being able to have a job as soon as you get out of college that you can support yourself with, or at least help your parents support you. But to have our kids leave the school ready to be, what's our motto? We have a motto at Modesto City Schools that we want our children to have. What is it? Yeah, but they're leaving here with certain things. What are those things? Come on, come on. Oh, awesome. Every student graduates with the skills, knowledge, and character traits essential to thrive and contribute to society. We want that for all of our students leaving Modesto City Schools, and we, as employees, want to help them accomplish that. And I really think this Leadership Academy can help all of our classified employees become better themselves. Thank you for your time. Don't forget, April 19th is the last day to RSVP.
Thank you. All right, thank you for that report. We've got 3 reports here, and we're going to go on to our first one, report on our Equity Task Force and our GATE pilot updates. So we'll welcome Lori Holland to the podium.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Noguchi, Cabinet, and guests. I'm Lori Hewlin, Senior Director. Tonight I will be presenting an update on the Equity Task Force GATE pilot. Tonight we will review the progress of the GATE cluster pilot thus far, what we have learned, and the plan for the GATE program in the 24-25 school year. This work truly aligns with our Modesto City Schools vision that we all just reviewed, that every student graduates with the skills, knowledge, and character traits essential to thrive and contribute to society. We are including more students to our GATE programs to ensure they have the opportunities essential to reaching their potential as they progress on their educational journey through Modesto City Schools. This work also supports District Goal 1 as we strive to create equitable access for our students, and Goal 2 as we provide professional development for our teachers that are engaged in this work. You may recall that in June of 2022, the Equity Task Force presented to the board a summary of their findings from the equity audit. Those findings included information about the regional GATE program. Of concern were the number of students that opt out of attending the regional program, meaning they choose to stay at their neighborhood schools. These opt-outs led to some student groups being underrepresented within our regional GATE program. These findings led to the creation of the GATE Task Force. This group consisted of GATE teachers and administrators from our regional sites, as well as non-GATE sites. Also participating were parents of GATE students and a parent that opted out of the regional GATE program. This task force engaged in an examination of our GATE program data, as well as researched best practices to support GATE students across all of our elementary schools. At the end of the 22-23 school year, the task force made a recommendation to pilot a cluster model at 6 sites and provide professional development for the teachers. It was also recommended that we refine our GATE identification process. Those 6 pilot sites are listed on this slide, and the pilot site principal met with the families to explain the differences between the cluster and regional GATE opportunities. Families could also attend regional program open house or parent meeting to gain more information about the regional programs. Families then selected a program that would best meet the needs of their child. To refresh your memory, our regional program consists of 3 schools: Martone, Lakewood, and Sonoma. These 3 regional model sites accept students from other schools in their geographic region. At a regional program, the GATE class consists of identified GATE students as well as neighborhood students, if needed, to create a full class. Our cluster model is at 6 sites mentioned previously. Those GATE cluster classes consist of students identified as GATE, clustered or grouped into one class at the grade level, with the remainder of the class balanced based on enrollment of the neighborhood students. In looking at our enrollment data for the 23-24 school year at just our 6 pilot sites, we can see that the students at those 6 sites that are in GATE more closely match the school enrollment data by student group. This data is only 3rd grade at those sites, not the entire elementary district. So it might look a little different than other data you see regarding this group. Looking specifically at our Hispanic and Latino student group, our GATE students are more closely aligned to the school enrollment data. We also notice that our Black African American student group, although only representing a small number of students at those 6 sites, does not have a student in our GATE cluster program. We looked closely at that data and will use what we learned as we continue to refine our identification process. To support our teachers, we provided ongoing professional development. We met for full school days as well as after school to collaborate and learn together. We also involved our coaches in the learning process to further support the GATE teachers, the cluster teachers. Attending the National Association of Gifted Children Conference was seen as very beneficial by those who were able to attend. There was an opportunity to learn about the many aspects of GATE identified students, as well as how to modify instruction and learning opportunities for GATE students within the general education setting. Some of the topics that we provided professional development on included resources in our adopted curriculum that teachers could use to support increasing rigor and complexity for their students, Curriculum compacting, which is the use of data to determine when students are ready for a more rigorous learning opportunity. During instruction, for example, a student may demonstrate mastery more quickly than other students in the classroom, at which time the student would be released from whole class instruction to engage in a different learning opportunity. We are also working on questioning strategies that go beyond checking for understanding to encouraging curiosity and to help students bridge to a new way of thinking or approaching their learning. Here is some of the feedback from our pilot teachers. There is real energy from our GATE cluster class teachers as they talk about their students and the journey this far. They are the brave pioneers as we work together to develop this program. You can see they have positive and insightful things to say about their students. My favorite is we are waking up their curiosity. They also had great advice for the other teachers that may engage in this work. They said things like try new things and ask for help. And we can do hard things. And my favorite was it gets better, we get better. We've learned a great deal this year. We accomplished some of what we intended, gained some valuable feedback, learned that we need to continue to refine our identification process, and that we need to continue to monitor the impact of our programs. When we look at enrollment data for the GATE programs, both regional and our cluster schools, we see that the cluster program has met the goal of increasing access to GATE. When comparing our regional program in the 22-23 school year, there are a total of 4 schools from our pilot sites that chose to attend the regional program. The number in parentheses is the number of students that were offered the regional program. During that school year, the GATE cluster class was not an option. That number is similar to the 23-24 school year, with 6 students opting to attend the regional program. I lied, we're not ready to go yet. Given a choice between the cluster class GATE model at their neighborhood school or the regional GATE class. If we combine the second and third columns, that is how many students were offered a choice of placement in the GATE program, either regional or cluster, and which program they chose. By offering the cluster programs, a family no longer has to opt out of this opportunity for their students because they can participate in a cluster class at their neighborhood school. It is important to note that this data for the 23-24 school year only represents the families that were offered a choice of program. There are other students that are attending the regional programs from our pilot sites that are not represented on this chart because they were not given a choice between the 2 programs. When we look at the number of students at our cluster sites that are participating in GATE, that number is 35 students. Using our refined identification process and cluster site program, we are able to identify and support more high potential students. The feedback from our pilot teachers about the program has been very helpful. We know that this is the beginning, and things will improve as we continue to build and refine a program that supports more students. We are learning what instruction looks like in a cluster class, and there is a need for more professional development opportunities in this area. Our teachers have appreciated the ongoing professional development, and we want to see that continue. They also very much appreciated the time to collaborate and learn from each other. We've reviewed the data from the identification process and heard from our pilot teachers. We know we need to continue to refine this process. We need to look more closely at our data with a lens of who we might be missing. For example, is there a student group that's not represented? Are there other students that would benefit from the opportunities to engage at higher levels of rigor and complexity? One way we will address this is by looking at the data for each student group. We will do this through our initial identification process and also asking for the way that we ask for teacher and administrator referrals. To support our efforts to continue to refine and improve our GATE program, we conducted both teacher and parent meetings at all 3 regional GATE sites. Our community asked some good questions. There were questions about how academic rigor was provided within the cluster class. We recognize that it looks different in a cluster class than a regional program, and we will continue to monitor data to ensure that students' needs are being met. Questions about how we are addressing the social emotional needs that may be unique to GATE students also came up. We will provide professional learning opportunities to our GATE teachers so they are equipped to support all learners. Although we increased communication with the families at our cluster programs through principal meetings with families and the regional programs would like an opportunity to provide families a more robust look at what a regional program offers. There were also questions about the broad range of student ability and support needs that are in a cluster class. We recognize that this is true. There is often a broad range of students in a class, and that the students that are GATE identified are already on those campuses in those classes. We are not adding students. We are identifying students and providing professional learning for their teachers so that the learning needs can be addressed in the cluster model if the family makes the choice to keep their child at a neighborhood school. As we move forward next year, we will continue to provide professional development to our cluster teachers. We will continue to provide program options. We will refine parent communication practices so that families feel informed about the choice they make. We need time to monitor the impact of the two programs in our student data. To support our teachers, we will provide robust learning that begins before this school year ends so that they feel prepared before the next school year begins. This includes learning about why we are expanding our programs, what it means to be a high potential learner, and they will have opportunities for planning with coach support. We will focus on equipping teachers to provide students with learning opportunities at high levels of rigor and complexity, including questioning strategies during whole group instruction, collaborative learning in small groups, and helping students identify areas of interest and raise their curiosity. This is not just giving them extra work. This is providing our students learning opportunities that they are ready for. We will start this professional development in May. Over the course of the school year, there will be 4 additional days of learning and collaborating. We will offer after-school opportunities for monthly learning and collaboration, and those that would like to attend the National Association of Gifted Children Conference will have the opportunity to do so. Those who are able will bring back their learning to share with the group. Moving forward, we will continue to expand our cluster model to all of our non-regional sites. Parents will be given a choice at their neighborhood schools and staying at their neighborhood schools and participating in the cluster class or attending the regional program. We will expand our 6 pilot sites to 4th grade, again offering parents a choice. Our regional sites will remain unchanged. Classes will be developed based on families selecting the regional program, with neighborhood students added to create full classes. This is not a change from our regional programs in recent practice. Cluster principals for our cluster sites will meet with families, provide information about the benefits of both programs, and encourage attendance at the regional program open house. Families will then be able to make a choice that is right for their child. For our regional sites, when students are identified, they will be again contacted by the site principal who will provide information about the regional program. This is a change from previous years when the GATE office would contact all families. We believe that having the school site principal reach out, families will feel more comfortable in asking questions about the program so they can make an informed decision for their child. The principal will encourage the families to visit the GATE class on open house. The families will then make a choice about enrolling their child in the regional GATE program. To support the effort to monitor the impact of our GATE programs, we will convene a cadre of educational partners that will meet monthly to review data and continue to refine our program and examine student outcomes. The group will include teachers, administrators, and parents from both regional and cluster programs and district administrators. These partnerships will allow us to communicate with our schools as the cadre acts as liaisons between the school site and the district. I will now turn it back over for public comment and questions.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that report. Are there any comments from the public on this agenda item? Okay. Seeing none, are there any comments by the board or questions from the board? Oh, we have one. Okay. You'll have to come up to the podium.
I'll get this etiquette down eventually. I'd like to ask Director Hoolan, are there any classified staff members that are included in your yeah, the cadre or the group of individuals? We hadn't planned on it. Okay. I think that would be an important voice to hear.
Thank you. And I'll remind everybody, questions that are being asked, we'll take them down, and then we'll have somebody contact you about questions. We can't take questions, we can only take comments. But if you have a question, who do we refer to somebody to, so that, okay. So Mike Rich will take your question and then answer it later. Go ahead.
Okay, since I cannot make a question, I can make a comment. I wonder if there's any parents involved. Thank you.
Yeah, you can ask a question, it just can't be answered right now. Mr. Rich will answer your question later. So, thank you. All right, board members that would like to say something on this, questions? All right, Trustee Brown?
Yes, as we look at the cluster programs, we see the number of students that qualify as GATE at each of the cluster sites. And as I look at the numbers, I see that there isn't a full classroom. Looks like there's 5 at most schools and 10 at Franklin. That still is a minority of the students in a single classroom that is identified for GATE instruction. Is there any special selection of the remaining neighborhood students? Is that by ability to work together with GATE students, or is that just a random selection?
Great question. So class lists will be built to provide a balanced range of students within the classroom. So each class will have students of higher level of achievement or ability, as well as students that are right at grade level, approaching grade level, and need more assistance.
Okay, so is the instruction being given in that classroom segregated according to the GATE presentation to the GATE students? Is it different than is presented to other students in the classroom?
It's largely embedded in the direct instruction through questioning strategies and looking for opportunities to compact the curriculum, allowing the students to engage in something different when they're ready for it. There are times when there are learning opportunities, collaborative small group opportunities for students that are ready for it. However, the classroom teachers do not allow a non-GATE identified student to engage. So if there's a student in the classroom that might not be a GATE identified student and they're ready for that level, they're invited to engage in that as well. And we are seeing that in our classrooms.
Great. I'd be interested, and I'm sure we don't have the data yet, but we should have it at the end of the school year, what the ability of that classroom is to raise the learning level of all students. I'm hoping that we find that there's carryover and pull up rather than pull down of our GATE students.
Our qualitative data from our pilot teachers would indicate that.
Would indicate which?
That other
It's
kids are
pull
raising.
up rather than, well, I can't wait to see those numbers. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Daly?
I just have a question. I'm curious at the National Association for Gifted Children Conference, are they talking about cluster models as well?
Okay. Trustee Marks?
So how many students do we have in GATE right now that are not in the cluster model, but in the regional? And is it first grade through 6th grade at the 3 schools, Martone, Lakewood and Sonoma, or is it 3rd through 6th? I just couldn't remember.
It's 3rd through 6th.
Okay,
And for exact number of students, I would have to actually research that, and I can do that.
okay, yeah. I was just kind of curious to see how, so with the, if we add the 35, is it increased by a quarter or a third, or, kind of trying to figure that out. And then I know that at the, and I had mentioned this earlier, but at the Equity Task Force meeting last month, when we did talk about GATE, that there was a concern about the, there not being any Black or African American students in the program, and why was that, and how can we encourage them to be in the program, because it's beneficial for all the students that attend it. So just hoping that we can increase the number.
Thank you. Student Rep. Akwaye.
Thank you. I was wondering, over the data that we do have in terms of state testing and things, if there's been a clear distinction between GATE student scores and then more general education student scores, and then how we can, if there is one, how we can help to even that out.
I think that, when we're talking specifically for our cluster model, or are you referring to our regional model? I think that as we continue on this and we are working with our teachers, so more of our students have access to this more rigorous instruction, so that more of our students are being given that challenge, I think that we'll see that.
Okay. I have a few comments, questions. Anybody else?
I want to make a comment.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
I meant to say how appreciative I am that we have expanded the program, because my second board meeting when I came here, we moved the program from James Marshall School to Martone, and at the time we had 90 students at James Marshall attending the GATE program, and because we moved it to the Martone, we lost all of them, but I think 6, because it was so far away from their home school. So parents were really uncomfortable sending their students so far away. So looking at it now and seeing that we are putting it back, and even at James Marshall's, one of our pilot schools, it's very exciting to see that happening. So they promised me that someday we'd put GATE back there, and here we are. So thank you.
It's someday.
I know.
Yeah.
26 years later, but yes.
So I have one question, but I have comments. This is something that I know that is important to me. I just want to say a couple of things. Little anecdote. There was a GATE activity that the students were doing in, I think it was like 4th grade at a school. And as they were doing this role-playing thing that the GATE students do, kinder kids were walking through. And one kid said, "Oh, I can't wait to do that when I'm in 4th grade." But the reality is, you might not. That didn't sit well with me. It kind of goes back to something that Trustee Brown said. Higher level of instruction for all. A system that serves only the few is a system that continues to serve those that are in power and doesn't give anybody else a chance, an opportunity. And I'm encouraged that we are looking at ways to bring all kids into the mix, to give all kids the opportunity to succeed at high levels. So I appreciate that. I'm really interested in, and just a little bit of history. There's a lot of history in this community at GATE. I know that many years ago, pre-COVID, we used to have wait lists for our regional programs. And if you think about a wait list, that means that a lot of kids weren't getting services, right? So at least this way, we got more kids that can to get those. And I'm really interested, once these data come out, the scores, CAST scores, I'd like to see these, and any other achievement, even qualitative data on the non-GATE identified students in the classes where these cluster models are that Trustee Brown said. I'd be interested in those data to see how those students are achieving. Because we know there are kids that maybe they're really great at ELA, but struggle in math. But maybe kids are really great at math, but struggle in ELA and reading, and they didn't get into GATE for some reason, but they excel in other things. So, I'd like those, and maybe in a board report or something, to see how the students are doing, the non-GATE identified students in those classes. Thank you so much. Any others? Okay. Thank you so much for that report. I appreciate that. We'll move on to our next report. Thank you so much. So now we have a report on MCS's equitable grading journey. A lot of equity reports today. We'll invite Dr. Heather Contreras.
Good evening, Vice President Maestas, Board of Trustees, Dr. Noguchi, and Cabinet. As you said, my name is Dr. Heather Contreras, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent of School Leadership. And today I will be presenting a report to you on equitable grading practices and the journey that Modesto City Schools has been on for several years now. So the purpose of this presentation is to inform the board of the years-long work of the district around equitable grading, and the purpose is also to outline the next steps that we'll be taking as we work to scale out our grading practices. And there is what Fawn referred to earlier as our MCS vision. Every student graduates with the skills, knowledge, and character traits essential to thrive and contribute to society, and equitable grading is a practice that contributes to that mission. It also aligns with our district goals. District Goal 1 is to increase and maintain academic achievement and equitable access to enable all students to attain college and/or career readiness. And Goal 2 is to ensure all employees have access to high-quality professional development to support the MCS vision. And with equitable grading practices, it does take quite a bit of professional development to work towards that. So to give a little bit of background on what equitable grading practices are, there are a variety of definitions that are used. However, at the very core of the practice, I believe Joe Feldman describes it best. He's the author of the book, Grading for Equity. And what he states is that an equitable grading practice is grading that reflects a student's academic level of performance. No more and no less, just how is a student performing on the academics that their teacher is teaching them. So to give a little bit of a history of where grading originated in education, grades were really established as a mechanism for providing feedback to students on how they were progressing in their learning, but also feedback to parents so that parents understood how their students were performing. Additionally, grades were established for institutions to communicate between one another. So an elementary school to a junior high to a high school, and high school to colleges, and also colleges to one another. Grades are the primary factor for earning a high school diploma. That is based on the grades students earn and the credits earned. Trade school entrance looks at grades as well, and so do college admissions. So why would we look at equitable grading, and why now? Equity has been a district strategic goal for the past 5 years. As was mentioned earlier, it's the theme tonight of equity, and how are we providing that in our different programming. Grading equity really supports a system of communication that is fair and accurate. So when we're grading in an equitable way, all people in the organization understand what those grades mean and what they're reporting on, and so that makes it fair. And then as we strive for excellence, it really is our responsibility to engage in best practices. And as we learn more about education, which we continue to do year over year over year and for decades, we need to make sure that we continue to learn and grow and to best support our students. So in Modesto City Schools, we really started this equitable grading journey more than 10 years ago when we first established an elementary report card that is a standards-based grading report card. So our current elementary report card lists the standards that we need students to master at each grade level, and then we engage in a rubric-based grading that communicates to parents where our students in their movement towards mastery of those specific standards. So students earn a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. Those numbers indicate if a student has not yet met or mastered that standard, if they're approaching the standard, if they're right on target but haven't yet mastered it for that point in the year, And then the 4 would be that they have met the standard and have mastery in that area. Like I said, that's been in practice since 2014, and the foundation and the learning that happened preceded 2014 as well. We also have the instructional core roadmap. This has been in practice in our district to help our PLC teams work on identifying essential standards. And our PLC teams are our collaborative teams of teachers who really are the experts on what they're providing to the students, what standards, what students need to learn at each grade level. Our roadmap supports our teachers in gaining a deep understanding of how instruction supports the intent and the rigor of the standard. And then the teams identify what would that look like? If they're meeting the standard, what would a student be able to know and do to demonstrate success? And then finally, mastery-based grading is just that communication back and forth again on how students are doing along those standards. So we've been engaging in that work through the roadmap for the last couple of years as well. Some of our very more targeted professional development that began around grading started in 2019 and 2020. And at this point in the presentation, I'm just going to take you through some years of work that we've been doing in the last 4 years, 5 years actually. So starting with Solution Tree and Dr. DeFore, who works in helping teachers to have a mechanism for working collaboratively together, looking at standards, designing instruction that helps students to meet the standards. We had teams of teachers attend conferences provided by Solution Tree under the guidance of Dr. DeFore, and those teams came back with a change in ideas around grading practices and how could we best communicate to students and parents how students are doing on standards. Nothing else, just the standards. How are they progressing? Teams came back from that conference with a lot of momentum towards changing their thoughts. One particular team that comes to mind is Byers Math. All their departments really connected with these ideas and started engaging in change practices right away, and they've spread those change practices, and as a result, we've seen some really tremendous growth at that school site, in particular in math. In 2020 and 2021, we did engage all of our high school site administrative teams and anyone that they felt might be interested in the Grading for Equity book study. That book study served to begin laying the foundation for future approaches to grading practices that we maybe weren't quite using yet. We also had a grading task force. This was under the work of Dr. Lauren Odell. 50 teachers participated in that task force in that year, and the goal of the task force was to examine the current grading practices, what seemed to be the norm within Modesto City Schools, and then to explore change ideas that might benefit learning. In 21 and 22, we brought on Dr. Reeves, who is an educator who has been very engaged in the grading practices, ideas and change ideas. He has a company called Creative Leadership Solutions, which has gained a lot of momentum in Modesto City Schools and supported our teachers and administrators. And so in that year, we had site administrators as well as 36 volunteer teachers who wanted to engage and participate in change ideas around grading and grading practices. And at the end of the change ideas they designed for themselves, they presented their results in a science fair format. A lot of their ideas have spread across their school sites as well. Continuing with Dr. Reeves, because his ideas resonated with us as well as the support that his company could provide, we continued in 2022 with site administrators and site leadership teams at each of our schools participating in change ideas, and then they presented results in a science fair format too. I want to say each of the school sites and the site leadership teams met with Dr. Reeves and his company in support 4 times throughout that year to support the ideas of the new learning we wanted to engage in and our change ideas. And that same year, we also partnered with California Education Partners, and I've been before the board before to share that work. We initially started with Downey and Hanshaw, and that work has groups of teachers at each of the 2 schools, as well as site administrators and counselors to look at grading practices,
how to reach better graduation targets for our students, and then some change ideas around that. And we've seen a lot of success and changes in student success as a result of that work. In 23-24, we had teachers who engaged in a mastery-based grading pilot. These teachers have been participating in the Instructional Core Committee and giving input, and kind of a one-off from that committee began the idea of, well, why don't we start piloting some of these practices as another way of scaling out the idea of grading change. The initial group of pilot teachers began the work in the fall and then started implementing at the semester change just this year in 2024. IETS has been monumental support to that work by working directly with PowerSchool, which is our student information system that helps with our grade reporting, to develop different ways of grading within our computer system that we use. So that's been a really wonderful partnership, and some great practices have come from that. In 23-24, we also continued and expanded out work with Dr. Reeves. This time, Dr. Reeves had his creative leadership coaches going out to each of our 34 school sites to support teachers and site administrators in the collaboration process. Collaboration is a huge part of grading, because when collaboration gets really effective, teachers are collectively looking at what do we need students to learn and know, and then how are we reporting what they learn and know to both the student as well as to the parents. So that work has been supported all year. Different sites have worked between 6 and 10 visits per site with their coach that has been assigned to that site, and it's been reported as very effective, and we're seeing change results in students and their performance as a result. We continue the work with California Education Partners. We have expanded that out from not just Downey and Hanshaw, who were our first schools. We've now expanded to Modesto High and Mark Twain in that next year. The on-track work continues to be looking at grading, graduation, change ideas, and then how do we scale out to different departments. Earlier, I mentioned the pilot teachers who were working on a mastery-based grading pilot or grading changes. We have the teachers listed here, and I'm going to read their names out because they really deserve a lot of credit for engaging in this. It's not easy work. It's sometimes very challenging and can be frustrating. So those teachers who've been a part of that work are Dee Campbell, Christy Warren, Brittany Hughes, Nicole Evans, Mark Gonzalez, Jonathan Olson, Mary Varday, and Lori Gaines. We did invite them to speak this evening, but as mentioned earlier, it is a very busy time of year, and all of these teachers are involved supporting our students in extracurricular activities. So although they couldn't speak tonight, we do have a website, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, where you can hear testimonials from some of these teachers. So at your leisure, you could click into the website that I'll show you in a little bit and hear from them how the work is going. But we appreciate their work. There's a little infographic that was included in your board documents this evening. I know the font is really small, but this is the infographic that group has been using to guide their work, and you could kind of see what they've been engaging in. It's included trainings that they've dedicated themselves to, resources that they've had to read and educate themselves on. The teachers meet regularly to support one another in the work. There's regular office hours supported by IETS, so that if they run into a systems question that they can check in, but also they can check in just for some extra support. Like, I'm trying to do this and I'm hitting a wall, and who can help me? Feedback has been tremendous. The teachers have said, this is challenging work, but it's rewarding work. And they're seeing a difference in students when they engage in this work. The students become more engaged and really understand the expectations that their teacher has for them, and then how to meet it, because feedback has been a huge part, feedback from teacher to student in this grading practice. So this is a little screenshot of what our website looks like that we developed. This website can be found if you go into the CIPD tab of the Modesto City Schools website and look at what we call Beyond Traditional Grading. And we have three different, each of those tabs are interactive, and you could click on them, or I shouldn't say tabs, tiles,
And you can click on them, and then resources that you can read about each of those grading practices are provided. Who can develop and who might be the educational expert at this time on those grading practices, books that teachers can read. We have Power School tutorials, so that's the grading system that teachers enter grades in, tutorials of how they would set up their grade book if they were interested in doing this. And then there are also teacher testimonials of, I've engaged in this, here was my journey, and people who are interested in checking this out know where they can go to get some additional help. So we're very excited about this website. So our next steps in our grading journey include the continuation of work with Creative Leadership Solutions. All of our sites report that to be very effective. They appreciate the work. This year we've really focused on English and math. Next year we'll be trying to scale out to other content area. We'll continue with our California education partners, and we're adding 2 new schools. We're very excited about that. Davis and Roosevelt will be joining us. And then we'll be establishing an equitable grading committee, which will include teacher leadership from each of our junior high and high schools. Now remember, our elementary schools have been engaged in this work already. And what we'll be looking at is developing recommended changes for board policy and administrative regulations in the future. And with that, if there are public comments.
Thank you so much, Dr. Contreras. It looks like we have a public comment. So if there are any public comments, go ahead, Mr. Anguiano.
Mayor Anguiano, thank you. I love to hear this. Ever since my son started at Roosevelt and I started to see how he was being graded and so unfairly and unequitable. There's teachers that assign 200 points for participation or effort, or you don't have your notes right, or your binder's wrong, or you don't raise your hand. Might as well just give them 500 points for being Mexican or black, huh? But so I think that this is the right direction, and eventually I'd like to see some board policy and procedures, because I don't understand how these teachers cannot grade right. They went to college just like me and you went. In college, we read a chapter, we discuss it. We don't get grades for discussion or participation. We get grades for quizzes and tests. Some of these teachers grade like 80 points for homework. You know, homework really is after you give the lecture, the student understood it or he didn't. And so if you're not a good teacher, then it's gonna be shown in the homework. Or your homework is late, but they don't even ask why. 50% penalty, up to 50%, 20% or whatever. So when a child has 50% penalty on late homework, he's gonna get an F. And so who's gonna wanna get an F? Because if you get 100% for perfect homework, you get 50 points or 50%, that's an F. Oh, well, you got 50%, it's gonna help you. Yeah, but eventually that child's gonna have a C in a final C because he's never gonna overcome. Or 200 points, you get an F because you don't have your notes or your notebook or your whatever, even the PE shirt, okay, you know? Oh, and I think that it has to do with your character traits policy. You need to make sure this character traits that you have written here along the walls don't make it into the grades. These teachers are making it into the grades. You know, your character, you know, I'm gonna grade you on it. Timeliness, on participation, on efforts, the character. No, you know, we just gotta grade like we do it in college and it'll be fine. You know, and so Joe Feldman and Dr. Reeves and I think it's Nielsen, they have mastery grading, standards-based grading is the right direction. And we need to grade like that. Whatever we just gotta test the child and what he knows. I challenged a teacher and said, I will send my son right there and we'll ask him questions to see if he knows the subject or he doesn't. He doesn't deserve an F, or whoever, you know, or my daughter. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? Okay. Comments or questions from the board? Student Representative Akwai.
Hi, thank you. You mentioned earlier that if other teachers are interested in using the model piloted by some of the teachers in our school district, and they're able to look at that through the website. And with that, I was wondering, is there a point when there's going to be a district-wide standard, whether that's this model or a different one, or will teachers and schools be able to create their own model of equitable grading that's going to be used in their classrooms?
I think that's some of the work that we're engaging in now is to make those decisions.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Good question.
Thank you. Trustee Daly.
I just wanted to make a comment. Thank you very much for the report. And I especially appreciate the history of grading because I was not here during the whole process, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Trustee Mejia.
Yes, I just want to commend what we've done so far, and that they keep going. I think we're in the right direction as well. So just appreciate it. I know it takes a lot of effort. We're huge. I mean, sometimes when we talk about grading, we're so big. It takes time, and to work through that process, and it can be scary. I mean, if you've done it for so long, a certain way, to change all of a sudden, it takes development, and I'm glad that we're doing that. It's continuous, and I hope we continue to in that path and inviting and encouraging a lot more teachers to participate on it.
Thank you. All right, I have a few things, and I first I just want to say yes, yes, and yes. I full transparency, I work for Joe Feldman's company, so I coach I coach teachers on grading, and it's just awesome to see where we're going. And I do want to say, change takes time to do it right. Don't want to get to a place where we're throwing out a board policy that hasn't really been, and then we have to go backtrack on things, right? So doing it right is important. But time is of the essence. So I'm glad that we're there somewhere. So question, and this partially comes from my experience as a freshman teacher. Grades are supposed to give feedback or communicate. And as a freshman math teacher, I never really thought that at the 8th grade, the letter grade, gave me very much information on what the students came in knowing. And that was hard because I ended up having to I felt like I spent time when I could have moved on, and it was difficult. So I know we have standards-based grading K-6, which is great. As a parent, it made things very easy to understand where my kids were struggling and what I could do at home to help them on a specific topic. And for my kids, it was always organization. But it was helpful. And as a teacher, I would like that same kind of information of my students coming to me in the high school. So my question is, we do standards-based grading K-6. Why haven't we done it in 7-8? Because I understand high school, there's some considerations of grades going on to college and GPAs and things like that. But 7-8, I just never really understood why we couldn't go standards-based there as well, because it seemed like it would help teachers more and parents and students.
Those are great questions, and like you said earlier, change takes time. And so I think as we explore these different possibilities, it's opening ourselves up to what change do we want to see, what is possible, and how could we get more fair and accurate for our students. And that's what some of the work is entailing. I know with our on-track partners, they're starting to ask those questions, and teachers are opening up their grade books and saying, well, let's look at these specific standards. And so some of those changes are starting to happen, but it takes time. And it's a lot. I think grading gets handed down generation to generation as a way of doing it, and you get used to that. And so change ideas are
timely.
Right, I guess it's a question, historical question, because when this district, I guess Cindy would know this, when this district went standards-based, why wasn't it considered at 7-8, and it was just considered at K-6?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but I do know that it was focused on the report card, how the report card was going to reflect how our students did. But I don't recall how that decision, why we didn't do junior high, because I think that's a wise decision if we did add junior high. But now we
Yeah.
are, so.
It's a historic thing, I guess, just in a beat.
I wasn't here at that time, but if you think about the context of a report card for elementary where it's multiple subject in a classroom is very different than single subject. 7th and 8th mirrors 9, 10, 11, 12, so they're individual subject areas. So I think it's the structure. I would think it's the structure. Perhaps someone that has been here longer than myself would know what that is, because I think it started in 2014, which was 10 years ago.
I mean, you can give me information later, I just
Yeah.
wonder where historically that was. The California framework, math framework, the new one that was just adopted, does cite standards-based grading as a best practice. Just to something that you said about grading being passed down. There are very seldom, I think it's starting to grow, but in teacher preparation programs at universities, grading is not, like, grading practices aren't taught.
Yeah.
Right? So this is just like, oh, this is how my teacher did it, or this is how the veteran teacher does it, or this is how my PLC does it. And then we end up in a high school where I have, my son's in high school has 6 different classes with 6 different grading structures, and now you get used to all 6 different, like, consistency would be helpful for everyone. So I'm looking forward to where we move from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've been asked to take a 5-minute break, so we're gonna go and take a 5-minute break, and we'll be back. All right, thank you so much. We're back. For this last report on 2024-2025 curriculum adoptions, I'm going to turn over to Dr. Noguchi first.
Perfect, thank you. And I will turn it back over to you because it isn't going to Mr. Rich, it's going to the folks that's identified in your agenda.
Okay,
I think
yep.
it's Sarah, Dr. Olson and such.
Right, the group.
One thing that I wanted to share that, because it says adoption, I don't know if anyone has come in after the beginning of this meeting. At the beginning of this meeting, I opened up and I shared that the 8th grade health curriculum is not going to be covered tonight. So if you have a comment or a concern about the 8th grade curriculum, you're not able to address it in this report because it's not on the agenda. As such, we do have, that will be coming back to the board meeting May 13th, and there is an opportunity to take a look at the curriculum and provide comments and feedback that will ultimately come to the board. But at this time, we're not able to have a public comments on the 8th grade health. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Vice President Maestas.
All right, thank you. So we are going to invite the group in front here and start with Ernesto Calderon and our report on curriculum adoptions.
Alrighty, good evening, Board Vice President Maestas, trustees, Superintendent Noguchi, cabinet, and members of the public. My name is Ernesto Calderon, and tonight my colleagues and I are here and will present on curriculum adoptions. The process that we will discuss tonight will be centered in the MCS vision, which is ensuring, every student graduates with the skills, knowledge, and character traits essential to thrive and contribute to society. So tonight, we're here to present on the curricular recommendations to adopt for the 24-25 school year in the areas listed on the screen, and we will break down each recommendation during this presentation. This presentation aligns with district goal number 1 to increasing academic achievement and ensuring equitable access to ensure all students attain college and career readiness. So let me tell you a little bit about the adoption process. Over the last 8 months, teacher committees met to analyze standards, review publisher options, and ultimately made recommendations in their content area. We also held a public preview in our CFPD office for all recommendations beginning on April 1st, and it will run through April 19th for anyone interested in reviewing these proposed materials. So first off, in the area of English, we are looking for new curriculum for the English language arts for grades 9 through 12. The recommendation is to move forward with My Perspectives as the main text. This text is published by Savas Learning Company. This is a 2024 edition and is available through print and through a digital platform. I'd like to take a moment to thank our teachers who served on the adoption committee, as well as CIPD coaches, specifically Amy Phillips and ELA coordinator Rachel Hallenstein for their work in getting all of this process going. It's a big adoption, it's a huge adoption. It hits a lot of our students in grades 9 through 12, and it took a lot of work to get here, but I believe teachers are very excited, very happy with the selection that was made. As part of this year's adoption, our scholars will receive a digital book for each student, along with the consumable textbook and access to the interactive student platform. This is a 7-year contract, and the fiscal impact is approximately $3.7 million. And now to present on world language is Marisela Mota, Director 2, English Learner Services.
I'm always shorter than Ernesto. Good evening. So our next recommendation is for AP French. The Teacher Adoption Committee recommends adopting THEMS, AP French Language and Culture from Vista Higher Learning. So our committee members were 2. We only have 3 French teachers, so 2 out of the 3 were able to join us for our committee. The AP French course will be offered at Downey High School. Students enrolled in AP French will receive a digital and physical book. In addition, they would also receive the AP French Language and Culture Exam Prep Book that will assist them in preparing students to take the AP French Language and Culture Exam. Our next recommendations will be presented by Senior Director Lori Hewlin.
All right, so our next recommendation is for history, social science, and it's for AP psychology. The Teacher Adoption Review Committee recommends adoption of the Myers Psychology for the AP course 4th edition 2024. This curriculum is published by BFW Publishers. Each scholar will receive a text in print along with access to the digital platform. AP Psychology is offered at 5 of our comprehensive sites. Teachers from 3 of these sites served on the committee completing the adoption process. Scholars enrolled in this course will receive digital and physical books for each student, along with access to the interactive student platform. This adoption is for an 8-year contract, and the fiscal impact is approximately $66,955. Our next recommendation for history, social science is AP US History. The Teacher Adoption Review Committee recommends adoption of Fabric of a Nation, a history with skills and sources for the AP US History course, 2nd edition, 2024. This curriculum is published by BFW Publishers. Each scholar will receive a text in print along with access to the digital platform. AP US History is offered at 6 of the MCS comprehensive sites. Teachers from 4 of these sites served on the committee, completing the adoption process. Scholars enrolled in this course will receive digital and physical books for each student, along with access to the interactive student platform. This adoption is for an 8-year contract, and the fiscal impact is approximately $114,335. $113,000, sorry. Our final history, social science recommendation is for AP European History. After focused consideration, the Teacher Adoption Review Committee recommends continuing the use of Western civilization since 1300, AP edition, updated 10th edition, 2019, by extending the current digital access. MCS currently has the physical textbooks and will continue to offer students both physical and digital access to the curricula. The text is published through Cengage, and each scholar will receive a text in print along with access to the digital platform. AP European History is offered at 6 of the MCS comprehensive sites. Teachers from 5 of these sites served on the committee, completing the adoption process. Scholars enrolled in this course will receive digital and physical books for each student, along with access to the interactive student platform. This adoption is for the 6-year contract, and the fiscal impact is approximately $66,225. And I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Dr. Janine Zambo, as she really spearheaded all of this work, working with our teachers and ensuring that all of our adoptions were completed. And next I will introduce Dr. Sarah Olson.
Good evening. In the area of computer science, we are looking for a new curriculum for IBSL and IBHL computer science at Modesto High School. The recommendation is to move forward with core computer science for the IB diploma program. This text is published by Express Publishing and is the 2015 print edition, and this curriculum is available in print only. Since this course is only offered at Modesto High School, our committee members are very small but mighty. So we have our 2 teachers at Mohai who were part of our review for the curriculum. As part of this adoption, students enrolled in this course will receive physical books. There is not a digital option available. The recommendation for this adoption is a 5-year contract with a fiscal impact of approximately $2,900. Our next recommendations are for career technical education. We'll now hear from Rachel Barkus.
Okay, so in the area of career technical education, we have 3 different areas that we're looking at: education, child development and family services, public safety, criminal justice, and health science, sports medicine.
Our committee members for Education and Child Development were Michelle McCarthy from Downey High School. Ryan McKay was our Public Service Criminal Justice teacher from Davis High School, and Denise Olson was our Health Science Sports Medicine teacher. So in the area of CTE, of Education and Child Development, we are shifting our focus from child development to education pathways, and we're also adding a program at Johansson High School. As part of this adoption, our students will receive both physical and digital books and an interactive student platform. The actual cost will be based on actual enrollment numbers. As of right now, this is only based on projected enrollment, the dollar amount. The adoption is for a 6-year contract, and the fiscal impact is approximately $71,372. In the area of public safety, we are looking at 2 different books, Criminal Justice 1, or in the area of Criminal Justice 1, it's an Introduction to Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice, and for Criminal Justice 3 and 5, the book is Introduction to Criminal Justice. As part of this adoption, the students will receive both physical and digital books with an interactive student platform. This is a program that we've had at Davis High School for a number of years. And this adoption is for a 6-year contract, and the fiscal impact is approximately $17,000. And lastly, we have our Health Science Sports Medicine class. This is an addition, it's an additional capstone class to our Health Science pathway at Davis High School. The capstone course is a sports medicine course, and the book that was chosen is Sports Medicine Essentials. As part of this adoption, the students will receive both physical and digital books and an interactive student platform. The adoption is for a 6-year contract, and the fiscal impact is approximately $11,000. So the total fiscal impact of all of the courses that were presented this evening, or the curriculum that was presented this evening, the cost will be based on actual enrollment numbers, so this is just a projection, and the total cost comes to approximately $4,053,718. Okay, and I'll turn it back over to Board Vice President Maestas.
Thank you for that report. Do we have any public comment on this report? Okay, one, okay.
I hope I get this right this time. The comments I'd like to make, I noticed that some of the curriculum had an 8-year contract as opposed to a lot of the others were 6-year and 7-year, and I was wondering for further edification. Health, science, sports medicine. I think it's an awesome opportunity for many of our high school students who are into sports, such as my son was, and he had to wait to go to college to learn that particular area. He helped the trainer while he was in high school, but he had to go on to the community college, and then he would have had to gone on to a 4-year college to get that training. And so I'm excited to see that that's going to be offered at the high school to our current students. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay, any comments from the board or questions? Start with Trustee Brown.
I'm looking back on the history of a lot of our adoptions in the past, and I see a real difference in what we are receiving tonight. In the past, I recall seeing piloting programs looking at different curriculum options, and then hearing about the comparison and why something was selected. Tonight, we're hearing just one book or one curriculum per program, and I'm wondering what comparison happened and how did we select what was presented to us tonight? It feels like there was something missing.
So I can address that. This is the same format that we've done, at least for the last 3 years that I've been here. all of that, so you heard Ernesto Calderon talk about at the beginning, this work started 8 months ago as teachers identified the standards. They looked at multiple curricula. They picked several that they want to pilot. They put those into classroom with students and teachers. The teachers came back and voted on those. And then that's the recommendation that we're bringing to you tonight. But all of that work has happened over the last 8 months.
I missed that, sorry.
That's
Thank
okay.
you.
Trustee Marks?
Yes, thank you. And I just want to thank the staff today for all your help getting some of the information I needed to review some of them. It was a lot. It was like a whole 2 tables of books to review. And so they were really helpful because I really like the course outline where it just helps me get a little bit of a summary and then I can pick and choose where I really want to go with it. And so I just appreciate your time. You all took extra time to go help me today. And it was really interesting. It was nice to be able to hold a book and look through it like I believe the students will. And I know as a district, that was part of our priority, was that every student would have a hands-on book and digital. Because some students need physical touch to be able to do just the way they learn. They're tactile. So we're meeting some of those needs in that way. And so I appreciated that and just being able to flip through the pages, see some of the artwork that's in it, the way that, just the way each set was set up. So I appreciated just how it was done. And I look forward to seeing how this turns out and what the comments are from the public. I know this week is last week for the public to view this set, but then next we have another 3 weeks for the 8th grade health curriculum. So that's helpful. I appreciate that the district took the extra time for that too. So it was good.
All right, thank you. So I have a couple questions. First question is, do all of these have Ed Report ratings?
So for those of you who don't know, Ed Reports is an independent entity, I guess, that scores the textbook based on how well it meets standards, whatever. So I can't speak to all necessarily the CTE or specialized courses only because there's so few choices in some of those realms. But that is part of the process that we go through in the selection as let's take English for an example. They reviewed before they got it down to 2 to pilot. They took those reports, they took the standards of probably about 6 or 8 different curricula that they really kind of narrowed down before that. So specifically, we're looking for Ed Reports where they're green in those areas for standard alignment and, the framework alignment and all that. So, yeah. But not Ed Reports doesn't have that for all the curricula, so I hesitate to say that, that the criminal justice has that as opposed to like the English that would.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I would say our committees go through a review of evaluation rubric and criteria. So we look at different criteria to determine which curriculum is really the best to pilot. And so we look at areas for like English language arts, we look at areas like reading, writing, speaking, language, assessments, integrated ELD, universal access, instructional planning, and organization. So that helps us determine what curriculum is the best one to move forward with and to pilot, and then make a determination after that.
Okay. And then I do have I've been on an adoption. I've been on several adoption committees before. So I know how much work it takes, and I appreciate the expertise that the teachers bring to it. And their work. So I'm going to preface that. And I don't really have any negative thing to say about, I trust their opinion and their work on this. So I do. But I do have a concern about the contracts being 8 years long and millions of dollars being spent on something that gets us in an 8-year contract. My little bit of worry, and I'm sure that you've already done this work about changes to especially AP curriculums to changes to those frameworks. But one thing, I could just give you an example. This Cengage in the criminal justice, its published date is 2018. The 6-year contract will take us into 2030, and that means that by the time we end that contract, there's a 12-year difference in the publication date of this publication. And I don't know how much criminal justice and law enforcement changes in 12 years, but I think there's been changes in the last 4 years. So I just worry about some of the contract lengths and us putting in that much money without being able to pivot or do something with these companies where we get updated materials.
Yes, so the contract length really has to do with the digital access or if we have print materials that are, you know, ancillary to those things. So one of the advantages of having a digital curriculum is that they can update that more regularly as opposed to what we've done prior to digital curriculum where it was, here's your book, and then that's the book you get for a while. So we do have a timeline where we have mapped out AP, IB, curriculum frameworks on when those should be updated and then what the timeline would be for adopting new curricula. Granted, COVID put that in kind of a tailspin as the math framework took so long. Now the English framework is going to take longer. So there's some changes that have to happen to that, but we do take that into account. And if there is a major change to let's say you used AP as an example, for example, years ago, calculus, they added slope fields, you know, midstream into that course. So we would look for ancillary materials that could support that outside of our adopted curriculum. If a full-blown adoption would be warranted, then we would take that recommendation as well.
Yeah, they added long division in integration like 4 years ago, and that was in the middle of out of nowhere, right? Yeah. So now everybody is scrambling to figure out how to add those in. Okay, so what you're saying is that even if we're in an 8-year contract and we have physical books, that a company will give us new physical books if something needs to change?
No, the digital curriculum is updated. The physical textbooks we would have to purchase.
But we're still locked into that physical book.
Yeah.
Okay, lastly, I just find it ironic that the only one that doesn't have a digital is the computer science.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. The IB has some specific requirements, and that is the book that the teacher wants. Just know that there are online resources that they're accessing outside of that textbook that supplement that material.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, I recognize the irony in that. Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. All right, if there aren't any more, does anybody have any items to be placed on future board agendas? Thank you again for that report, and all staying in the front row for us. Does anybody have any items for future agendas? No? Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Moved by trustee Mejia, second by trustee Marks. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Good. Meeting adjourned.